Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Kaden's Kitchen. My name is Kaden LeDuc, and on this episode, one of my favorite things so far, it's still cooking as I film this intro, but I can already tell this is going to be one of my favorite things I've made, possibly my favorite. My favorite things I've made so far on the show have been the beef stew and the pancakes, the banana pancakes. And this might top it. It is gluten-free French onion soup. As always, you don't have to make the recipe gluten-free if you're following along. You can just use regular bread and regular flour instead of gluten-free bread and gluten-free flour. But I like doing things gluten-free, so that's what we're doing. I love French onion soup. Might be my favorite soup. Yeah, it's my favorite soup. And I think it's perfect for an appetizer. Ask anybody I go out to eat with. It's probably the thing I'm getting for my appetizers, French onion soup almost anywhere. So hope this is as good as some of the other places I've had. I think it will be, just saying that myself. But I'm looking forward to this. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Alright, ingredients. Of course, yellow onions. You're going to need about, if you're using smaller ones, you're going to need 5 or 6. Bigger ones, maybe like 3, something like that. Should work for you. I'm using the smaller ones, so I'm going to go about 5 or 6. You're going to need 4 cups of beef broth, 2 cups of chicken broth, Swiss cheese or Gruyere cheese. Gruyere is more traditional, but Swiss is cheaper, and I think it has better flavor myself, honestly. I'm using a whole block so I can just shred it at the end. You're going to need about 1 tablespoon of gluten-free flour, Worcester, I'm not going to even talk about that, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, some sprigs of thyme, 2 tablespoons of butter, salt, and our gluten-free bread. This is 3 bakers. Now, the issue with gluten-free bread in a soup like this is because there's no gluten, it might dissolve really fast and just kind of fall apart. So what I'm going to do is toast the bread first and see how that works. To be quite honest, I don't know. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we already chopped the onions. We got to get them nice and thin, kind of like that. So kind of like a julienne cut almost, if you want to be real chefy with it. And then we're going to start to caramelize these. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the pan, or pot I should say, with butter, olive oil, and some salt. And just going to let these sweat off, start to caramelize. Should be about 15 minutes around there by the time they're nice and caramelized and you get that nice onion. Because, I mean, raw onions, they make you cry. Caramelized onions, they make you, also cry, but I guess tears of joy. Okay, so now we're going to want to thicken the soup a little bit. So what we're going to do now, the onions are nice and caramelized, we're going to add in our 1 tablespoon of gluten-free flour. And this is going to thicken the soup up a little bit, and then we're going to let this cook after it thickens for about a minute, and then we're going to add the sauce that shall not be named because I can't name it because I'm bad with words like that. Alright, just thicken that up a little bit. See the butter start to soak up a little bit, comes a little bit, harder to stir. And now we will add the sauce. Alright, so in goes the Worcestershire sauce. I also added it in a half cup of water. The recipe I'm using calls for white wine, but that's not exactly available to me right now, so we're just going to go with the water. Alright, now we're just going to let this cook for just a little bit, and then we're going to start to add the other ingredients. Okay, so now as you can see, the liquid's almost completely gone. It's really just onions and flour. So now is a good time. We're going to add the stocks, chicken stock, beef stock, and we're going to add also the sprigs of thyme, just to get some seasoning. And always add more salt, of course, because salt is the basis for everything. Okay, so as can be seen here, we have brought the soup to a full boil, so that's good. So now what we're going to do is turn the heat down to about medium to medium high, and we're going to let this simmer. It's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour, but it'll be worth it in the end, I assure you. It's been about an hour. The soup's a nice consistency. It's about what French onion soup should be. I already tasted it. It tastes delicious. So now we got to just put the final product together. So as I mentioned earlier, the problem with the gluten-free bread is that because there's no gluten in it, it might just dissolve when you put it in the soup. So to try to balance and counteract that, I actually toasted the bread on both sides pretty lightly. Just enough to where you can kind of feel that crispiness. It's still going to get soggy because you want that nice sogginess of the bread in the French onion soup anyway. But just so it won't fall apart as easily, let's hope that this works. Alright, so here's the final product before we put it in the oven. As you can see, I kind of went nuts with the cheese because I'm a big fan of Swiss cheese in general. Bread's in there, the soup broth stuff's in there. Should be really good. Only thing, like I said, I'm worried about is maybe the bread dissolves a little bit. I don't think it will, hopefully. We're preheating the oven to about 325, and then we're just going to put it in and let the cheese melt because that's the best part of the French onion soup to me. As you can see, this is a pretty big bowl. It's just me and my mom eating this, so it's there's no need to distribute it into 6 different crocks. And even if I wanted to do that, I don't have any crocks anyway. So the shoes or the pots, I don't have either of those. So yeah, let's just put this in the oven and see how it goes. Okay, here it is, our big old bowl of French onion soup. I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit before I actually eat it because I don't want to burn my taste buds off. But looks really good. The bread I can feel on the outside. I threw some more pieces of toasted bread on the outside just to see how they would go and if they would fall apart. They're not. They're still kind of crispy, but they'll be nice and soggy once you dip them in the broth. The cheese is beautifully and bubbly, and I'm very, very excited about this. Okay, French onion soup, gluten-free. The bread did not fall apart. I'm happy about that. But how's it taste? How's it taste? I put so much cheese on this because I love cheese. I love it. Wow. Good stuff. It's really hot. I probably should have let it sit for a little bit longer, but you know what? It's worth it. Worth a little bit of pain. It's so good. Oh, it'd probably be better if I had crocks to put it in, individual crocks, but I don't. So this bowl had to do, but it does not change the fact that this tastes amazing. Doesn't have to be gluten-free. Doesn't have to be. It can just be regular French onion soup with follow along with the recipe. Just replace the gluten-free flour with regular flour. Replace the replace the gluten-free bread with regular bread, and it's or maybe like a baguette or something like that. But for being gluten-free, this is delicious. So thanks again for watching this, guys. Like I said, comment, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and always be sure to wash your hands, stay safe, and I will see you guys next time.